when you dream too big, you're misfit.
You're kind of like muffled down or
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's sad and almost, I think, even embarrassing to see how entrepreneurs who are there but fail are literally bullied even online.
Yes.
Because I don't think you can build something truly, magical without going through the process of trying, failing, trying again.
Yeah.
And eventually succeeding.
Do you remember like ever thinking to yourself, man, this is actually could actually be like my Facebook or my Instagram, etc. Like this could be the big tech company I envisioned many years ago?
100%. That was the goal. I remember we even introduced a line of merchandise that took off really well as well. But we thought that was our moonshot project.
Yeah.
It would be big. We pitched at Lion's Den.
Actually, that's why I saw you the first time.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh. I remember like, hey, this guy is so bold. This is such a good idea. I remember that show actually, yeah. And I think you got through, right?
Yeah, we got commitment for investment, which didn't end up materializing. So they didn't end up actually putting money into the business. But I guess it happened for good reason, because soon after we were able to sell the business.
I see.
Yeah.
So what made you guys decide to have Cloud9 acquired or like be bought? You can even tell us who bought it and how that process was like versus pouring like more jet fuel in it, taking it all the way to the moon.
Yeah, so, and this is maybe a contrarian view, because there's always this big question of, should you raise external money? Should you bootstrap, make a business profitable and great? I am of the view that I'd rather create a really big pie, really big business. I believe that's like my mission in life.
Yeah.
Is build a big business that will impact a lot of people. And I'm still on that journey, right? And for Cloud9 to do that, it needed to raise external capital.
I see.
So, however, like all the venture capitalists we talked to between 2016, 2017, were not confident to invest in a B2C company. B2C meaning business to consumer. And it's because B2C businesses tend to need a lot of capital.
Yes.
Because marketing to consumer, you can imagine you're marketing to thousands, millions of people. So it's very cash intensive.
I see.
And a lot of the pitches we made to VCs, the answer was the same.
Oh my gosh.
We don't invest in B2C. So there was nothing wrong with the business and how it was growing.
Yeah.
But they just felt that it required so much capital, and they didn't have enough confidence that we would raise enough capital to achieve the dream we had in mind.
I see.
At the same time, we Mesozi was still operating, because remember, like we're funding Cloud9 using like consulting.
Yeah.
Revenue, right? We got a really big project in Mesozi for what we call Salesforce automation, which is a lot of these FMCGs have people out there in the field selling to Dukas.
We can clarify FMCG. We're familiar.
Fast-moving consumer goods. So anything you buy in a Duka is FMCG, like cooking oil, flour, tissue paper. That these things you consume in your house every day.
Yeah.
So how those goods get to a kiosk many times is there's a guy who goes to the kiosk. I'm sure you've seen maybe a bread guy.
Yeah, in the morning.
Or a guy in the estate going to deliver. So there's a process of them collecting orders. And most times they do it manually using a book.
Yeah.
So what happens is the manufacturer, the supplier normally doesn't have visibility
on how those goods get to that guy, or like which goods are moving, things like that.
Who is even my customer? Where is he? So we were tasked to build software for one of the projects now we got is to build software for them to know who is my customer, which duka, where are they, what's the frequency of them buying, all that. It's a big problem in that sector.
Yeah.
So we're at a crossroad because we have this business that's actually generating cash. It's like a cash cow.
Wow.
We're using it to fund this other business that we think is our moonshot project. And we were torn for a very long time. And then somebody comes knocking. I remember Andre, who's the CEO at HotelOnline, and Harvard, their co-founders. They reached out and asked us to grab coffee.
Okay.
And then they were very upfront.
Wow.
On, hey, we think you guys have built an incredible business for experience booking. We run the largest hotel booking platform in the continent. And we want, anytime our client books a hotel, we'd like to propose some experiences for them to do.
Wow.
So would you guys be interested in selling a business to us?
Oh my gosh. So, what is the initial reaction? Did you know that businesses could be sold?
It was a long shot. Like, these are just stories we read in blogs. And,
like Facebook buying Instagram, things like that. Yeah.
Or WhatsApp, right? Like, but we didn't see it coming at that point. So it was very exciting. I mean, if you're a good businessman, I guess at that point you just put a poker face and it's like, but inside
you're like, wow.
Like, somebody finds value in what we built enough to want to buy it.
I know.
So we told them, hey, that sounds interesting. Okay, what do you think? Like, how much do you want to pay? All that, we talked about it. And then we told them, look, we'll come back to you. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Then later we debriefed and discussed it. We thought about it for a couple of days. And then it happened really. It happened really, really fast. We're able to, so this is a point where we're crossroads. So between 2018 and 2020, we're running these two businesses that are all had high potential.
Yeah.
But then at that point, we're able to just sell it and focus on one.
Focus on one. This time
what turned into MarketForce, actually.
Exactly. So this time the Salesforce automation gig is becoming really big, and it's really demanding.
Yes. And it had multiple customers, including that customer that was in 5 countries. So in fact, one of the customers came up with the name MarketForce. They started calling it MarketForce internally.
I see.
And they thought that's a cool name. So we asked them, could we call the product MarketForce? And he's called Paul. And
I think shout out to Paul for MarketForce.
Yeah, such a dope brand.
Yeah.
So that's how MarketForce was born, and that's how we ended up now focusing 100% on MarketForce, which was turned out to be the right choice.
Yes, in hindsight. So you sell Cloud9. Do you remember which year this was?
So we completed the paperwork in 2020, but it was more like 2019.
More like 2019.
Yeah.
But MarketForce, or like what you were doing for that client, had already begun.
It began in 2018.
Late
2018, I think. Like very late 2018.
Okay.
And now in 2020, early 2020, is when we started thinking about the part of MarketForce that became big, which is Reja.
Okay.
Which is a marketplace again.
Okay.
I think we're addicted to marketplaces.
Yeah, I know. I can see it's a consistent.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, now we have all these dukas and all these brands. Why can't we create a platform where dukas just buy from manufacturers? That's how now the idea of Reja
was born
in 2020.
Before Reja, I'd like to take us back, because still at MarketForce, something incredible happened. So you started building this Salesforce automation tool, and I think it was 2019, 2020, you got accepted into YC.
Yes.
So
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
So for guys who don't know, YC is the largest and most successful startup accelerator in the world. And they've funded some of the most amazing companies like Dropbox, Airbnb, Stripe, Paystack, Flutterwave.
Yeah.
Up until that point, they probably like only funded maybe like 7 African companies.
Yeah, less than 10 for
So
sure.
like, how was that journey getting into YC?
Yeah.
And of course, that was super validating.
Yeah.
And you can walk us through that journey, and of course now also how you launched Reja Reja while you were in YC. I think that's kind of like the
Yes.
gist.
Yes. So so late 2019, we figured that we're selling this business. It's just now legals remaining and stuff. So we need to go all in on MarketForce. So we apply for YC, MarketForce, and we've been doing the consulting gig. The Salesforce automation gig. And now we have this idea of Reja Reja, and we're like, okay, this is a motion. Like, this is a big idea.
Yeah.
Total addressable market is really big. You can imagine how many Dukas fuel our economies in the whole continent. So we applied to YC in early 2020. And the reason this time is so vivid for me is because we had grown Mesozi. So MarketForce was a brainchild of Mesozi. So at this point, we had grown to a team of like 25.
Wow.
Because we had a lot of customers.
Yeah.
It was generating revenue. It was almost... it was profitable, actually, at that time. It was profitable. But we had this ambition again, this Facebook idea of we want to make this really big. So we knew we needed venture funding.
Okay.
We had experience of trying to raise from Cloud9 unsuccessfully.
Okay.
So we said, let's try it again. If we are focusing 100% on this thing, maybe this time it will work. And I think that's the thing about just building a business that, like, guys who haven't tried should realize is it takes a lot of consistency and just trying again and again and again. Like, you'll knock and knock and knock, and you'll get so many no's. We had talked to tens of investors, African investors, and they're just saying no. And I remember in 2020, right when COVID struck, we had gotten our first stranger in Kenya to agree to invest.
Wow. Okay.
And then COVID happens.
Damn.
And they're just about to wire. And they changed the whole terms of the deal.
Wow.
Because no one else is funding at that time.
Yes.
Really, like, we didn't have an option. And funny thing, in a month or so after they pulled out the
investment,
check and they changed the terms, we get accepted into an interview with YC.
Okay.
And then in May of 2020, like 3 months into COVID, at this time, because our business is now, we have moved from profitability, COVID has hit. We're losing all our revenue, almost all our revenue. So we're no longer profitable, but you have this team, 25 people. Then it was a big deal. Like, we're running this serious company, but now we can't pay guys. COVID has hit. We have to send people home.
Wow.
So when we got into YC, we told our guys, like, look, we have this shot at raising some funding. If we get into YC, we get $150,000. So everyone will retain their jobs.
Yes.
But for now, we have to slash salaries.
Okay.
So I remember we slashed salaries based on the level in the business.
Wow.
By 50 to 70% for everybody.
Could you say this is like one of the toughest times so far?
It was the first time doing anything like that. No one knew what was going on when COVID hit. Like, you don't know how long this thing will last.
Yes.
For us, we were losing all our revenue. So it's like, you've built this thing to this level. You thought this is a moonshot product, and then it's back to zero. You have this other big idea, but you don't have funding for it.
Yes.
Not like, we did the YC interview, we got accepted. I
Oh my
remember
gosh.
that day. Like, we were so happy.
Oh gosh.
We were so happy because we're in the middle of lockdown. And then now we've gotten this investment. And not just from anyone, from YC.
From YC. Yeah, it was a big deal.
It was such a big deal. Communicated the team, we kept the team, and then we started Reja.
Okay.
Immediately. And it's funny how once a lot of these investors who were saying no new YC,
yes,
like a bunch of them came back.
Oh my gosh.
Like, now offering us cash. And that's how we're able to now raise money to fund Reja.
Wow.
And grow it.
Wow. That's super, super impressive. And of course, Reja became like a moonshot project, scaling to 50,000 to 70,000 merchants in Africa. So I have a quote here from one of your favorite authors, Jim Collins, which is great vision without great people is irrelevant. So what can you say about that? Like, how did that apply itself in your journey, especially during this time when you have YC, it's COVID, so much uncertainty? Like, how did this sort of like shape how you think?
Yeah, I think one of the things that became apparent really quickly is how little we knew. Realize those guys, we knew so much about so little. We knew so much about tech.
Yeah.
But when it came to real world, like distribution of goods, we didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a team comes in.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when you see guys like Elon Musk or Richard Branson, who are entrepreneurs I admire, building in a space they know so little about, like Virgin, for example, owning an airline. And in his book, he talks about the way like he knew nothing about the airline industry.
Yeah.
But that was the best thing about starting
that business. Yeah.
And same for Elon and Tesla. Everyone just thought he would never be successful building cars. Like, what do you know about manufacturing cars? And he owns now one of the most valuable car companies
in the world.
Yeah, I feel sometimes ignorance can be bliss. Because if we knew how hard it was going to be, I don't think we'd have started in the first place. So at this time, like, we just had so much ambition. We saw how we could change the world quite literally. With this Reja idea, because like there's so many Dukas, they experience the same problems. We have the solution. We have the manufacturers, and the team, like the people we got on board. Like, shout out to our first COO, CFO, is called Benny. He's been with us like throughout that whole journey. The team was everything. The team is what enabled us to build from Reja from like zero. I think at that point we retained like 10 people into that. We got 10 people into that team. And all the way to like 800 people. And I think what I was throughout this period was mostly like an orchestrator. Which is just bringing people together and putting the right person in the right seat in the bus. You know, this bus is going this way.
And like letting them create the magic.
And just getting experts in each field. And we talk about this a lot. Like, if we need to do marketing, if I as a founder know more about marketing than team who leads our marketing, then that's not the right person for the job. Like,
that's true.
You just need to, part of being a good leader is just that humility to understand how little you know.
Yes.
Because building a business is a combination of very many components, and each component is complicated by its own. You can't know everything. So it's all about the team.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's super impressive. And like this team started off, you're saying about 25, and it went to, from what I understand, about like 300, 400, maybe even more. So you could just tell us now how that journey was like post YC.
Yeah.
Moving from, Reja with those 25 core team that you're able to keep all the way to now
to scaling.
How big it was able to be, being in like about 5 countries.
Yeah, so year one, what happened is 2020. It was very interesting journey. I remember going to Kibera to take orders.
Yeah.
Like when we really started out. Remember, same story. Like we didn't build the product first.
Oh, I see.
We'd go collect orders. Using manually. I think at that point we're using WhatsApp. So you'd go meet a customer. So you'd write the customer name, you know, the conversation you had. And if they give you an order, you write down the order on WhatsApp.
Yes.
And then now later you consolidate them into like an Excel. And I remember we went as collecting orders in Kibera, and we'd go to a distributor, buy the stuff the next morning, put them in the boot of my car, and take them to the customer.
Gosh. Okay.
And this distributor was shocked. Within like 3 months, we had moved from my boot to like 3 or 4 trucks every day.
Wow.
Like big trucks.
Wow.
So that's how fast that business grew.
Wow.
And I remember like it was just crazy. Every day you're hiring, you're acquiring customers.
Yeah.
Because the demand is much more than like you can manage.
Yeah.
The operations could manage. So it was super hectic. Luckily we're able to demonstrate that growth, tell a good story, and of what we envision this business to be. At that point, I could see this easily being, you know, the next Amazon of Africa.
Yes.
And that just was a lot of motivation and fuel for us to keep building. And we're able to, you know, go on and raise a lot of funding just to fuel that dream. We expanded across the country. So first to all the regions of Nairobi, we started delivering to Embakasi, like everywhere. And we divided Nairobi into 4 zones. We had vehicles going all around those zones, leased vehicles to deliver. Then we went to a second city, I believe. No, outside Nairobi, I think we started doing like Thika.
I see.
Then we did Nakuru. Then we did Kisumu. Then we did Eldoret, Kitale. Went to Mombasa, Voi. So I think by the end of 2021, we were in 10 towns in Kenya.
Wow.
And in 2021, we expanded to Nigeria. We got investment from Nigeria, and they were telling us, look, the problem you're solving in Kenya
exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Wow.
So we'll give you funding, just come and do the same thing. So we did that. And then, and at that point, the rationale was, you know, the cost of a flight to Uganda and to Nigeria is like, not much far off.
Yeah.
So why not expand to Nigeria, which is 4 or 5 times the size of Kenya in terms of population. And that was why we jumped over to Nigeria, and then later we came back to Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. So that was the journey. I think the core of it is dreaming big, and being bold enough to go after that dream, and then upskilling yourself every day, because at every stage, as I mentioned earlier, every stage is a different business.
Yes.
What takes you to succeed in Kenya is not what it takes to succeed in Nigeria. We got very strong leaders in each market. So getting a really strong team was core to the success of that business. I attribute all the success we had to the team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super impressive. So like, how is it, did you have moments of reflection in this journey? You're like, okay, started from 25, now maybe we're like 100 or 200 or something.
Yeah.
We're in one market, now we're in 5.
Yeah.
Did you have like, how did you feel in those moments of reflection?
Yeah.
And how far did you want to take it?
Yeah, to be honest, Mark, I'd be lying if I said like I had a lot of moments of deep reflection, which in hindsight I should have. I think we should have probably scaled slower.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I didn't do or realize is that we're living in an unprecedented time, because capital, there was a lot of capital available.
Okay.
but I didn't understand very well like the dynamics of this capital, and I didn't realize how quickly that capital would dry up.
Okay.
Because we were getting investment offers every other week from investors. And, I thought the world now understood the magic of what we were doing and how big this could be.
Yeah.
So I think if I spend some time reflecting on boom moments, then I'd realize that, what goes up must come down.
I see.
So I would have realized that, this funding won't be available forever. And would have focused on sustainability much earlier.
I see.
Yeah, because now what happened is we raised all this money, but accelerated a business model that was not sustainable. And, the difference between Africa and the West is Amazon had 20 years, 15 years of continuous venture funding. Uber the same. It's like they had open checks for a long time.
That's true.
But we're in Africa. So in my mind, we had 7 years at least of continuing to raise investment to build the business. And then at some point, we would focus on profitability. So in my mind, we'll probably be profitable by year 10.
Yes.
Right? 2020, 2022, it's 2 years. And then investment runs dry across the continent, pretty much dry, unless you're running an excellent business. People aren't cutting checks. And you're being forced now to be a profitable company. And it's easy when you're running a small business that
it's easy to make it that profitable.
To make it profitable. But when you're running this behemoth of a business,
large operation,
with hundreds of guys, we tried cutting down markets. We tried, we had to lay off a lot of people to try and rationalize the costs. This wasn't unique to us, but I think what was really unique to our situation is it needed a lot more capital and time and runway to get to a point of profitability, which we just didn't have. And I mean, it was the most ambitious project, but it's also been the biggest failure for me.
And like the biggest learning point.
And the biggest
the biggest learning point. Yeah, I think that's
yeah. In fact, I'm sorry. I was reading a quote the other day from Thomas Edison. And he talks about how his factory burnt down. This is long time, early 1900s.
Okay.
The factory burnt down, and when he talked about it, it cost $23 million.
Wow.
Like it was estimated $23 million in
that's
losses.
Crazy. Damn.
Which then that's
at that time it's a
money,
lot. Yeah.
Right? And then he says, thank God, like all our mistakes, all the stuff that didn't work has just burnt down. So this is our chance to start afresh.
Yeah.
And I thought that's super important, right? Like
that is, and actually I've had something similar close to that.
Yeah.
Like he said, he's the only one who in the world who knows 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yes.
Which if you think about it is like an asset.
Yes, it is. Definitely. Like those learnings are priceless.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can take advantage of them, use them to in your next phase, then they're priceless.
Yeah, that's true. And like just picking up on those lessons, and one key one which you've mentioned is profitability, is just your vision of sort of like how you moved on from that into like this new business chapter. What are some of the learnings like and insights you saw from when you're building MarketForce and Reja that you're taking on into this new thing called Chpter? And you could also like tell us a bit about it.
Yeah. So it's been super exciting. I think one of the biggest reflections now, post everything happening, is going back to the basics of what inspires you to build, what motivates you to build. Because I feel like any business takes after the values of the founder. And I realized what I really value at the core is technology and helping businesses grow. If you look at all the businesses we did, that was the same theme. So number one is who want to build this for. So merchants was very clear.
Yeah.
I think the other lesson is, okay, if you're building for a specific, whatever you're building, can you make it sustainable? Can you make it a business early on?
Yes.
Because the realization then is, I do not want to be reliant on venture funding. As much as that model has worked in the West. And I look forward to the day when I'll be running a fund and be able to back audacious founders like that who are building for the future and might need to burn cash for 5 to 10 years to be profitable. I pray that one day we're able to
to run that fund.
That. But I just realized it's not the time. It's a tough time globally, but also the continent isn't ready for
that type of
founders. That type of approach to building. So what can we do from early on that generates cash almost from day one? Very little venture funding. And then the other big lesson for me, and this is from building with a co-founder for over 10 years, we've developed so much trust in each other and in our abilities. We've developed confidence because, as much as you've built this big thing that hasn't worked, it doesn't pull out the fact that you built it.
No one can take that away from you.
Exactly. We built it. We did the thing. People can talk and say, if I did this, if I did it, and go ahead and do it, right? We did it.
True. Yeah, we did it.
Yeah. So
we were in the ring.
We're in the ring. So what's been I've reflected a lot about, and by the time us guys partnered with you and Korea to build this chapter, the next chapter was who we build it with. Who are those teammates? And for me, it was knowing you guys for the last, since 2021. It was 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And admiring your building journey, your consistency, your resilience. We talked about your journey in episode 1, the fact that you self-taught. I saw myself in that, just deciding I want to do something and not asking people, not asking for mentorship or doing all those things. You just went ahead and
go about it yourself
and build it.
Yeah.
Let me just address this issue of mentorship, because so many people reach out, and if you're listening and you're one of the guys who've reached out asking if I could mentor you, I believe build something of value and your mentor will find you.
Yes. 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 When the student is ready.
When the student is ready. So don't ask somebody to mentor you when you don't have anything. We're living the information. There's so much information about any kind of business you might want to build.
That's true.
Do the work first.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
then the master will appear. That's so true.
Will appear. Find them and they'll be willing to help. If you reach out to me and say, hey, Tesh, I've built XYZ. I have X customers, or I'm struggling with this specific thing. And then the other thing is you don't get one mentor for everything.
Yes.
You get mentors who are specific for a certain problem at a certain stage in your life.
Yes.
And when you meet them and you've done the work, they'll be more than happy to guide you. But anyway, so back to the story is just knowing the customer we wanted to build for, knowing the kind of people we wanted to build this with, and then now addressing a problem that we thought is highly relevant for this time in history, which I think is a unique time. Because of the AI revolution, and also because of the impact of social media in our lives. If you look at consumer behavior now, like Instagram, WhatsApp, we're so, by default, we're spending a lot of hours on these platforms, and people are doing a lot of arranging their lives around social
That's true.
platforms, messaging on social platforms, buying on social platforms. So the combination of these two things, I think, make it the ideal time to launch a business like Chpter.
Yes.
Because for those who don't know, what Chpter does is we help businesses to sell more on social media platforms, because that's where a lot of consumers are. So if you're looking for attention from your customers, you're looking to engage your customers, you better be doing it on social media.
Yes.
And taking advantage of new technologies like AI to do it.
Wow, I think that's brilliant. I think there's something around so far now you've founded maybe like 5 companies.
Yeah.
Right? So like if you were to found
plus another like 3 or 4 that
three or four that failed. I know.
Yeah.
If you were to found another company like in 2024, like there's AI now, the social media, like information flows like so smoothly now. There's electric cars, there's so many things that you can do now. Like what would you do? If that's Chpter,
it's an easy question.
Why?
Yeah, it's Chpter.
If that's Chpter, why? Yeah.
So why Chpter? I just think it's perfect timing because of consumer behavior. So what I see happening now is that merchants want to. Anybody can start a business. It's so easy to start a business. Influencers, creatives, anybody can start a business. What happens when you start a business? You want to attract customers. So the reason I think Chpter is good is for that. You can start a business, list your products on a website, distribute those products across social platforms, start building community, engage that community, start collecting orders from them. And then just retain them better. And you have a business. I think the second interesting thing is if you already have a business that's big and you want it to scale, you either throw people at the problems you have in your business. So case in point, you're selling shoes online.
Okay.
Today you're getting 10 orders. What happens when you start getting 200 orders is if you needed one person to address these 10 customers, now you need maybe 20 people or 15 people.
Yes.
If you're going to throw people at it. But that's not efficient. There's AI. So you could have literally a bot, a conversational tool where customers will reach out and your bot understands your portfolio of products and can respond automatically to these customers and convert them. So that's why I'm really excited about what we're doing today, because it's at the intersection of what I think I'm really good at, which is technology and business.
Oh my gosh.
So I just love the fact that I understand my customers so well.
Because you could be your own customer as well. And it's so interesting because even just when you go to town and you go to a mall, all these things you're saying are potential businesses which could be on this platform.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
As we wrap up, we just want to finish with this question, which is both easy and hard. So if you think the next 10 years or the next 15 years, like what can you say is next for you as Tesh?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, I'm still trying to build that Facebook. So I remain super ambitious despite all the challenges, all the successes. I feel like it's day zero for me. I feel like all these experiences I've gotten have culminated to this
Leading
age.
up to.
Yes. So I feel so ready to build a business that's going to be very impactful on the continent, that's going to inspire a generation to believe that, you could come from one of the villages or townships in Nairobi and build a global company with customers in 100 countries, for example, which is something I believe Chpter will get to. And I think the second thing is I'd like to just create a vehicle that backs other audacious entrepreneurs.
I see. Okay.
Because I wouldn't want other entrepreneurs to go through the challenges I went through.
Okay.
So at least not to the extent I went through. I specifically would like to start a fund later on, maybe in 10 years, I don't know. Let's see how things go. That backs audacious founders, like truly audacious founders, because I believe there's many VCs. Everybody has their own focus, but I believe we're lacking that in the continent.
I see.
When you dream too big, you're misfit.
You're kind of like muffled down, or
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's sad and almost, I think, even embarrassing to see how entrepreneurs who are there but fail are literally bullied even online.
Yes.
Because I don't think you can build something truly, magical without going through the process of trying, failing, trying again.
Yeah.
And eventually succeeding.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow, that's powerful. So you want to sort of like contribute and give back to the ecosystem and make it easier for founders to realize these lofty and audacious ambitions.
Absolutely. And by the way, that's why we say Chpter champions, right?
Yes.
Can we bring other entrepreneurs into a conversation around their journey building? And I feel like every week we hear the same thing around failure being part of the journey. Most of them, it's not their first rodeo. They try and try and try. We had the same challenges around, whether it's access to capital, building a team. But it's important for people to hear these stories over and over, and we need to normalize entrepreneurship as a true path to impact and prosperity, and normalize failure as well. That's become a personal mission.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
I think like a reserve a seat for me on that fund. I definitely want to be in that one.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. Oh man, that's 100%. Amazing. Thank you so much for the time today. This was a special one. Actually, the first episode was you interviewing me, so it's nice that our episode 12 is me interviewing you, and 12 is like a number which also signifies completeness. 12 hours in a day, 12 months in a year.
Yes.
So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
So champions, thank you so much for joining us today. You can be able to follow us on Instagram at chpter.co. You can subscribe on this YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter as well at chpter.co. You can follow Tesh as well. He's very active on Twitter, active on Instagram. Tesh Mbabu is a username. And thank you so much for sticking with us, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Thanks, guys, and cheers.